All right, so we left off last time with Fanny arriving in Milan, and, she'd had kind of a rough start to her trip.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems like she was finally like, okay, I'm getting into the groove of this thing. I'm gonna make it to Lisbon.
Right.
But oh boy, are we in for a twist today.
Buckle up.
Because her second day in Italy, let me tell you, things take some unexpected turns.
Yeah, they do.
And that's what we're going to be looking at today in this deep dive from Fanny's book, Hitchhike.
Yeah.
And our mission for today is to kind of figure out how exactly she managed to get back on the road after leaving Milan.
Yes.
Because you would think that would be a simple thing. You're in a big city, you just get out, you find the highway, and off you go. But it doesn't exactly go that way.
No, not at all.
And we're going to see some really surprising acts of generosity along the way from total strangers.
Yes.
And then also like a really tough physical obstacle that she has to overcome. So are you ready to follow in her footsteps for this part of the journey?
Absolutely.
I'm ready. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, leaving Milan city center.
Right.
Not an easy task for a hitchhiker, and Fanny knew this from experience.
I mean, yeah, she knew that getting stuck in the city center is like the worst thing that can happen to you if you're trying to hitchhike.
Yeah, you're not going to get a ride in downtown.
Exactly. It just doesn't work like that.
So she had to figure out, how am I going to get out of here?
Yeah.
And her solution, I thought, was pretty clever. She decided to look for a taxi driver.
Right.
Because she figured, even with GPS, which we have now, she was doing this trip a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
but even with GPS, she figured the best way to find a good petrol station to get out to the highway would be to ask a taxi driver, because they know the city like the back of their hand.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, they are the experts.
So she actually approached a few taxi drivers.
She did.
And this is where we see the first instance of this unexpected generosity.
Yes.
So she approaches this taxi driver. They have a little bit of a language barrier, but he's able to understand what she's trying to do. And he is so moved by her story, he's like, I'm going to help you out.
Yeah.
He gives her a free ride, and he doesn't just take her to any old petrol station. He actually takes her to a bus station
Wow.
that has a direct connection to the highway ring road.
That's amazing.
And he gives her very specific directions on what bus to take.
Wow. That's so kind.
Isn't that incredible?
It is. It's a beautiful example of, like, human connection cutting through all these practical obstacles.
Yeah, exactly. Like even language barriers, money issues,
Right.
It didn't matter. He was just like, I want to help you.
It's great.
And this sets the stage for this reflection that Fanny has about preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Because, she talks about how in her past, she'd been told that men will only offer help if they want something in return.
Right. The classic stereotype.
Right, exactly. And she had learned this in her, what she calls her microclimate.
Interesting.
But what's so cool about this is that she decides to give everyone a clean slate.
She does.
She's like, I'm not going to let those past experiences color my judgment right now. And so she kind of goes into these interactions with an open mind, and she was genuinely surprised at how positive and respectful the interactions were with Italian men.
Yeah, especially given their reputation for being, flirtatious.
Right, exactly. Like, there's the stereotype of Italian men being very forward, but she was like, that was not my experience at all.
Yeah, that's awesome that she was able to, break down those stereotypes.
It was a real aha moment for her on this trip, and I think it speaks to the importance of keeping an open mind when we're encountering new cultures and new people.
For sure. And this is kind of what travel is all about, right?
Yeah.
It's about dismantling our biases and broadening our perspectives.
Absolutely.
And this wave of positive interactions that starts with the taxi driver, it actually continues when she gets to the bus station.
Oh, the bus story is just incredible.
It is.
Okay, so she finds the bus that the taxi driver recommended.
Okay.
Somehow communicates her destination to the bus driver in broken Spanish.
Wow.
And the bus driver says, hold on, I'll wait for you to get a ticket.
Oh, that's nice.
Now, that in itself is already pretty amazing because usually buses are on a tight schedule,
Absolutely.
but it gets even better.
Oh, no way.
Okay, so she gets on the bus. She's trying to figure out where exactly she needs to get off to reach the highway entrance.
Mm-hmm.
And the bus driver does the most amazing thing.
What?
He turns around to the elderly passenger sitting at the back of the bus and in full animated Italian explains Fanny's situation and asks if it's okay if he takes a slight detour to drop her off closer to where she needs to be.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine?
That is so sweet.
This bus driver just turns around and tells everyone on the bus this girl's story. And they all agree.
And she's just sitting there like, what's going on?
Yeah, she's like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I can feel the energy.
The vibes are good.
The vibes are good. Everyone's excited for me.
That's amazing.
It's like this random act of collective empathy.
It is.
This is a scheduled public bus,
Right.
and they're rerouting their journey for this stranger.
It makes you wonder, like, is this just like the Italian spirit? Like, are they just super laid back and helpful?
Kenny kind of attributes it to that, but I also think it speaks to a fundamental human desire to just help someone in need.
Yeah, for sure. Like, people want to help if they can.
And it had a really profound emotional impact on her. She talks about being moved to tears of joy by both the taxi driver and now this bus driver and all these passengers.
Yeah, like, you can't help but feel, like, really touched by that.
Yeah, and it's just this incredible positive energy right at the start of her day.
Right, like, she's already had this amazing experience.
But as is often the case with adventure,
Oh, no.
that smooth sailing, it doesn't last.
What happens?
So the bus drops her off near a bridge.
Okay.
It overlooks the highway entrance. Okay, so that sounds promising.
Yeah.
But crucially, there are no petrol stations visible anywhere.
Oh.
And it's like the middle of the day, the sun is strong, and she quickly realizes she is in for a long, hot walk just to find a spot where she can even try to start hitchhiking.
Oh, no.
And then, of course, there's that unavoidable highway fence.
Right. That's always a chance.
Yeah, you can't just waltz onto the highway.
Exactly. You've got to find a way around it.
So she has to figure out how to navigate this fence, get herself and her heavy backpack over to the correct side.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts walking.
Okay.
Now, despite the heat, despite the uncertainty of her situation, she's actually in pretty good spirits.
Really?
Yeah, she's feeling a sense of accomplishment just for getting out of Milan.
Right. She's like, I'm on my way.
She's like, I did it. I'm out of the city. I'm on the right track.
Okay.
And she describes this almost idyllic moment
Oh,
with the wind in her hair, the sun on her skin.
nice.
She even mentions like a genuine smile, something that she hadn't felt in years. She uses these words, peaceful, joyful, harmony.
That's beautiful.
She's singing, she's even dancing a little bit,
Cool.
feeling like she's exactly where she's meant to be.
Love that.
But little did she know
Oh.
that some very significant physical challenges were just around the corner. Oh boy. So she's walking along and she sees this large structure in the distance.
Okay.
And her initial thought is, okay, the road is just going to curve around this thing.
Right.
But as she gets closer, she realizes
Oh, no.
it's a dead end.
No.
And it is completely blocked off by what she describes as a never-ending fence.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Oh, man.
Talk about a sudden shift in mood.
Ugh. Yeah, like from blissful to, oh, crap.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
now she's like, okay, how do I get around this thing? I'm losing time.
Right.
I need to get to Lisbon.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when she makes the decision to trespass on what appears to be an abandoned sports complex.
Oh.
She's thinking, okay, this is Italy. People have been so friendly so far. If I get caught, I'll just explain my situation and they'll understand.
Right, like they'll be cool about it.
Yeah, but as we soon find out, the reality of the situation is far more difficult than she anticipated.
Oh, no. What happens?
Okay, so she gets over the initial fence surrounding the property, okay,
Okay.
with her heavy backpack.
Yep.
She walks across what seem to be deserted sports fields,
Okay.
and then she realizes, oh no, I'm trapped.
What?
There are more locked buildings.
Oh, no.
The only way out is another even more formidable fence.
What do you mean more formidable?
Okay, so imagine this. You've got a chain link fence,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a solid roof directly overhead.
Oh.
So there's only this very narrow gap between the bottom of the roof and the top of the fence.
So she can't climb over it?
She can't climb over it.
Oh, wow.
And the fence itself is thick. It doesn't offer any good handholds or footholds.
This is a nightmare.
That's a nightmare.
Oh, my God.
And this is where the real physical struggle begins.
Right.
And she typically relies on her leg strength for physical challenges,
Okay.
which is completely useless in this situation.
Yeah, she's got to squeeze through this thing.
She has to squeeze through this tiny gap, and it all comes down to upper body strength,
Oh, no.
which she readily admits is not her strong suit.
Oh, God.
So she has to use sheer willpower. She's like, I have to get through this.
Yeah.
She even puts her backpack against the fence to give herself a little extra leverage.
Clever.
And it takes her an enormous amount of effort just to pull herself up and squeeze through this tiny gap.
I bet.
In fact, she calls it the accomplishment of my life.
At that point.
At that point, you can just feel the immense relief and the sense of personal triumph she experiences after getting through that first barrier.
Right. She's like, I did it.
But of course, the ordeal is not over
Okay, no.
because her heavy backpack is still on the other side of the fence.
Oh, right.
So now she's in this awkward, confined space, and she has to somehow lift this heavy pack over the thick fence.
Oh, boy.
And her arms are already exhausted from the squeeze.
Yeah.
Her willpower is drained. She has multiple failed attempts to hoist the bag over.
Oh, man, that's got to be so frustrating.
It sounds absolutely grueling.
Yeah.
But she doesn't give up. She considers going back over the fence to retrieve it.
Right.
But she's worried that she won't be able to squeeze back through.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So she digs deep, gives herself this ultimate internal pep talk,
Come on, you can do it.
and finally, on her third try, manages to heave the backpack up and over the top of the fence,
Wow.
inch by inch.
What a warrior.
This whole escape took her 15 to 20 minutes
Oh, my gosh.
of intense physical exertion.
Right, and this is what people don't realize about hitchhiking.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting rides, it's about overcoming these crazy obstacles.
Yes, you got to be resourceful, you got to be determined, you got to be physically fit.
Yeah.
So finally, after all that struggle, there's a reward in sight.
Okay, what is it?
She finally spots a petrol station in the distance.
Yes.
After a 5-kilometer walk along the highway,
Oh, my gosh.
she checks the time,
Oh,
and it has taken her just under 6 hours
6 hours.
to get from the Milan train station to this point.
Oh, my God.
So the pressure is now on to find that next ride.
Right, she's got to keep moving.
She's got to keep moving if she wants to make it to Lisbon.
Yeah.
So to recap Fanny's second day in Italy, it was a day of contrasts.
It was.
On the one hand, you have this incredible kindness from strangers.
Right, the taxi driver,
Oh,
the bus driver.
The bus driver, the
This
passenger.
is really heartwarming.
It was incredibly heartwarming, and it really challenges our assumptions about people.
It does.
But on the other hand, you have this intense physical challenge.
The fence.
The fence, the heat, the long walk.
Yeah?
So it was a real test of her resilience, both mentally and physically.
It was, and you've gotten a real shortcut to understanding this part of her journey today.
You have.
With all the highs and lows.
And I think it makes you wonder, what does this journey tell us about the assumptions we make about the people we encounter?
Mm-hmm.
And how often do we underestimate our own capabilities when we're determined to achieve a goal?
That's a great question.
Because Fanny was determined.
She was.
She was like, I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, and she did.
And she did.
That's inspiring.
It is inspiring.
Yeah.
So some food for thought there as we end our deep dive into this part of Fanny's hitchhiking adventure.
Yeah.
But don't go anywhere, because next time we'll be looking at her experiences in France.
Ooh la la.
And she has this foreshadowing moment where she says, it was my closest call to real danger.
Oh, no, I can't wait to hear about that.
So you won't want to miss it.
Definitely not.
Until then, happy travels in your own explorations, wherever your deep dives might take you.
Bye.